Hi and welcome to Cycle Maintenance Academy. My name is Arek and today I've got Daniel from Finish Line. Hello Daniel.
Hello.
And he's going to tell us all about looking after your chain. Can you tell us a little bit more about why should we look after our chains?
Well, looking after your chain is super important for a number of reasons. One, chain lubricants can help improve performance.
Okay.
Two, they can minimize wear by reducing the attraction of abrasive contaminants, and that's going to make your components last longer. And these things are expensive as well, so you want to look after them, you want to protect them.
Lovely. And how do you look after them?
Well, periodic cleaning is important.
Okay.
You know, if you have a dirty chain, there's a chance that there's going to be, like I say, abrasive contaminants on there, dirt, grime, sand, grit, and all of that stuff's going to wear your chain out, and it's also going to hinder performance. So, super important to keep the chain clean and then to apply a bicycle-specific lubricant.
Many of my viewers are wondering how often should we clean and lubricate our chains?
Well, it really depends on the amount of mileage you've done, the type of riding you're doing, but most importantly, the conditions that you're riding in.
Okay.
So if you're riding in, very dirty conditions or very dry, dusty conditions, you might want to change or clean your chain more frequently. Very benign conditions, clean conditions, lubricants should last longer, and you'll know, like when a chain starts to look dirty, starts to pick up lots of dirt, or starts to become noisy, it's time to kind of clean your drivetrain and re-lubricate.
And what should we use after we clean our chain to lubricate it?
From a Finish Line perspective, we offer a whole variety of different lubricants.
Okay.
So from very heavy wet style lubricants to super dry wax and ceramic lubricants. And the right lubricant is the one that matches the conditions you're going to ride in, more so than the discipline. So for example, if you know there's going to be a lot of moisture present or you're expecting wet weather, then a wet style lubricant is typically the one that you would go for. If you're going to be riding over very, very long distances, you typically would order and use a wet style lubricant because it's going to last that little bit longer. But the benefits of dry style lubricants are the chain's not going to be a magnet for dirt. So it's not going to pick up as much dirt and it's going to stay cleaner, and that's going to give you better performance. But we do have our new Halo range.
Okay, what is the Halo range?
Our new Halo range was us setting out to create the fastest, longest lasting lubricants. And we've done that with the range. And as part of it, there's a hot wax that we're now offering. And the benefits of a hot wax are that it works in any conditions.
Okay, I'll stop you here for a moment.
Yeah.
Because waxing is probably the most scary thing and longest process that we know as a cyclist to lubricate and look after our chain. We've heard loads of stories about spending hours and hours of waxing and re-waxing and drying and then putting another coat on, and probably none of us never done it before. Is this the case?
No, it really isn't the case. You start with a clean chain. Super easy to clean your chain these days, and lots of products on the market, including Finish Line specific degreasers to do that job for you. And the waxing process itself takes about 10 minutes.
Okay, that sounds different. And can you tell us a bit more about these waxing processes?
So our Finish Line Halo Hot Wax comes in a bag that you can boil in boiling water. So you take the bag, you put it in a pot of boiling water, and it takes about sort of 20 minutes to boil the wax. Once it's melted, you take the bag out of the boiling water. The bag itself comes with a little tool that you can kind of hook your clean chain onto. You dip it in the wax for a couple of minutes and slosh it around.
Yep.
You take it out of the wax and you hang it above the bag so that any excess wax drips back into it. And it takes about 5 minutes to dry. And then you can put the chain back on the bike and you can start riding it.
Okay, and what is the advantage of wax?
Yeah, the advantage of a hot wax over sort of traditional dry style lubricants and wet lubricants is it's going to work in any conditions.
Okay.
So you're going to get upwards of 500 miles of riding from it, but the wax is completely dry to the touch, so it doesn't pick up dirt and contaminants, which makes it great not just for road riding but also off-road riding as well. And it's also completely waterproof, so you don't need to worry about the effects of kind of corrosion and wash off from riding in sort of torrential rain or through standing water. It really is a one-size-fits-all lubricant.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. That sounds much easier than what I thought it was, which is brilliant. And can you tell us, is the hot wax, reusable?
It is. So you can reboil and melt the wax as many times as you want to. I mean, our bag of Halo hot wax, you typically get around 25 chain dips from that bag of wax, which is really good value for money as well. And especially when you're getting sort of 500 miles or so of riding from each application.
Okay.
Lasts a long period of time.
And I know you sort of mentioned this before, but how do we know when we need to replace the wax?
So
What wax?
yeah, once the chain's lubricated, it's going to be super quiet and super smooth, and you'll feel the difference when you're riding it. And when the wax starts to get towards the end of its life on the chain, you'll start to hear the chain. It'll become a little bit noisier. It won't be quite so smooth. So you'll know when the time is right to change it. I mean, there are some signs sometimes from the outside of the chain as well, albeit where the chain does most of its, or where the lubricant does most of its heavy lifting is like in the rollers and in the bushings and pins of the chain. So that's sometimes difficult to spot, but you can feel it when you're riding. It's a noticeable difference when you're riding with a sort of fresh coat of wax.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for letting us know that. Also, when we fit a new chain on a bike, this chain comes already lubricated by the manufacturer already lubricates that chain. Is there a need for relubricating it, or can we use it? Can you give us some advice on that?
Yeah, the factory grease that's typically on a new chain is actually quite a good lubricant in terms of kind of reducing friction and preventing wear. It's usually on the chain because these chains are produced in Asia typically, and especially for the European market when chains are on shipping containers and so on, and there's salt air and rust and corrosion. Manufacturers want to make sure that chain isn't turning up to retail locations rusty. So that's its sort of primary job. The trouble with it is that it's a magnet for dirt and grime. So it's very, very sticky. So if you ride that chain without kind of stripping away that factory grease first and then applying a bicycle-specific lubricant, you're going to find that it's just going to be a magnet for dirt. And those abrasive particles are going to wear your chain out. So, the other reason that you want to remove it if you're using a hot wax is that the wax won't adhere properly to the chain if it still has that factory grease on it. So you want to kind of strip all of that off before you hot wax. It's going to help the wax adhere better to the chain and get to where it needs to get to work properly. And then you're going to be able to ride without the fear of picking up dirt and contaminants, and the wax is going to do its job.
Okay, and I assume the process of cleaning that factory grease is much quicker than cleaning the chain that's already been used and lubricated before.
Yes. I mean, and certainly you're not going to have to worry about like dirt and contaminants in that first cleaning phase. But you still need to use a bicycle-specific degreaser. I would suggest. A lot of workshops will use an ultrasonic cleaner, which is very good at stripping a chain. But if you're doing it yourself at home, you can take a bicycle-specific degreaser like Finish Line Citrus, for example, in a jar, put your chain in there, shake it up. That's going to remove most of that factory grease.
That's fantastic. Listen, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I just want to say massive thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for all the subscriptions, likes, comments, and for sharing this video on your social medias. If you want to support it further, remember that there is a member option. It really helps the channel, but also you can get some fantastic perks just for yourself. So joining is simple. Click on the link in the description, and thanks very much. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
Bye-bye.